Here come the drums.
Live from the AM950 studios in the Twin Cities and restrained only by FCC regulations, this is Pardon the Dissent. Now here is your host and agitator, Joey Vincent.
Hello, Twin Cities. How you doing, Twin Cities listeners across the country, a few people around the world too. Welcome to the show. This is Pardon the Dissent. I am Joey Vincent, joined as always with by Tony William Met, the producer extraordinaire here at the Pardon the Dissent show. Today's date, July 27th, the year is still 2015. We'll mention the sponsors here real fast, knock that out. Bell Bonds Doctor, thank you guys very much. Natural Pure Drinking Water, Stupid Simple Branding, Minnehaha Recording Company, and Scotty and the Don. Thank you guys for helping me put this show together. Also, don't forget the website, pardonthedissent.com, because at that website you can find links to all those wonderful sponsors, and you can check them out. What's some other news I want to talk to you about? Some business news. Oh, that's right. We debuted the very first Pardon the Dissent direct-to-podcast show. We released that, I believe that was Saturday. Thank you. It's a huge audience in here, guys. You guys should see it. They're all naked. We did the very first podcast, direct-to-podcast PTD show. That gives you guys who enjoy the Pardon the Dissent show 2 shows a week now. You got the live show Monday night, which you're listening to right now, so this is weird. And then we got the end of the week podcast direct show. It's basically the same show. We just trim it down a little bit, do the same kind of thing. Gives you 2 shows a week, so make sure you check that out. Go to pardonthedissent.com, find all the podcasting options on there. You can listen to that show. You can listen to the one we're recording, I think, Thursday this week. So, boom, lots of content for you. All right. Phone calls. If you want to call, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. If you got something that's within the parameters of the stuff that we talk about on here, feel free to call in, and I'll give you my poorly informed 2 cents on it, and you can give me your 2 cents, and we can just talk about stuff together. Or if you want to talk about any of the issues that we're going to be covering tonight. I got to touch on this story. This is what I spent, I would say, the lion's share of the podcast episode I just told you about on was the Sandra Bland story. This story, and anybody who listens to the show, anybody knows me that whenever it's a shady cop story, it gets my motor running. Is that the saying? Get my motor running?
And then we head out on the highway.
And head out. Okay, we're singing something.
We're looking for adventure.
It gets me upset. It gets me passionate, right? It gets me very passionate. If you want to hear me lose my mind on a story, go listen to that podcast episode. I always try to listen back for quality control, that kind of thing. And I really got into it. It was a very spiritual moment for me because I was really laying into that. But I'm not done talking about it. I'm really not done talking about the Sandra story. So if you guys want to call in about that, please do. Give me your 2 cents on that as well too. What about Tony? We talked a little bit before the show, and this is the part that I didn't cover in the podcast, was her actual death and the speculation and strange facts, unknown facts around it, right? And there's people that think that it was suicide. Of course, the police saying it's suicide, and there's a lot of people who are speculating and taking little bits and pieces of information and think that she was murdered. I really don't have a firm position right now. If I was to lean to one, I'm feeling like the suicide thing is a possibility. That said, even though I kind of think that, it's still under strange circumstances that don't, all the pieces don't fit together for me, you know. For instance, like she only needed a $500 bond. It was a $5,000 bail. She needed $500 to bond out, right? She is. There's a phone conversation recorded between her and I believe one of her sisters. It was like a voicemail. She had left her, kind of just, telling her what the situation was. She had got arrested. She didn't really know, but she's just kind of waiting it out. But you listen to the tone of her voice, and I'm sure this is not a scientific method to determine if somebody's suicidal or not, but I'm just telling you what I feel and what I'm absorbing from what I've got. She didn't seem like she was in distress. She didn't seem like she was worried. She kind of knew it. She goes, I don't really understand what's going on. It was a silly stop for a signal. here's the situation, whatever, right? She had so much to live for, right? She had this new job that she got, right? So those things are questionable to me. But as it is right now, with the information that's available, I still have to. I'm kind of leading to the suicide thing. But who knows? Who knows? I'm as conspiratorial as they come. So it could have been all kind of things. But here's the deal: if it was suicide, and it does come to light that it was an actual suicide, in my view, she's still been murdered. All right? And this is why I'm saying that. Because she should have never been in that jail cell to start with, right? The everything that happened that led up to her, I'm calling a kidnapping, the police will call it an arrest, that caused that situation to happen. If she did kill herself, to put her in that situation to kill herself. So to me, the criminal acts, and I'm calling it that. I've watched the video over and over again, and it was a criminal act. And to me, even though if she committed suicide, it was still like the cop put a gun to her head and pulled the trigger, right? Because if she did commit suicide, again, I'm doing a lot of fixing here, it would never have happened had the cop not acted the way that he did and did the things that he did. So, Officer Encino, no matter what happens here, in my view, you're a murderer. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back from break. Pardon the Dissent, guys. Joey Vincent. We'll be right back.
I heard terrorism makes good television. It's no coincidence, and as a matter of fact, if it weren't guaranteed to be on television, there'd be less reason for a terrorist attack.
Hello?
Oh, man, I'm really in a world of hurt now.
Really? How long have you been there?
I don't really know, but I have to be at work tomorrow.
Oh, man, you gotta call the doctor.
Really? But it's so late, and doctors make me nervous. Maybe I should just wait here and see if this gets any better.
No, trust me. The bail bonds doctor is always the best option, and he's available 24/7. Unlike other bail bondsmen, this guy is extremely trustworthy and professional. He can get you out in no time. Give him a call.
One day, even you could find yourself needing the help of a bail bond service. That's why you should know there is a professional, dependable, and affordable option. Bail Bonds Doctor. Before you find yourself in this position, put this number in your phone, 612-332-3030. Available 24/7 at 612-332-3030. Online at bailbondsdoctor.com. The doctor is in when you need to get out.
We want to hear from you, so get connected to Pardon the Dissent. You can find us on Facebook by searching for Pardon the Dissent. Follow us on Twitter at PT Dissent. Email us at pardonthedissent@gmail.com and visit our website, pardonthedissent.com.
That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Pardon the Dissent. Joey Vincent, Tony William Metz. We're here talking about a little bit about Sandra Bland story. It's one of those stories you just can't stop talking about, not because it's a fun story to talk about, but it's a story that needs to be talked about. Been so many examples of so many different criminal police interactions, criminal activity by cops. This is one that definitely stands out. Before I jump back into that, let me knock out a live read from one of our sponsors here, and ironically, it's for a bail bonds company, one that similar to like what Sandra Bland would have been able to use to bond out from her illegal apprehension and kidnapping from the Texas State Patrol. I gotta get a smiley face now because I'm talking about one of our great sponsors, Bail Bonds Doctor. If you're familiar with the bail bonds industry, you know that you go to jail, you need to bond out, you need to get out. You know, say for instance, you're pulled over in Texas, and some small penis having, angry, ego-driven cop doesn't like the fact that you're smoking a cigarette in your own vehicle and he decides to take you to jail, you're going to have to bond out. So maybe pick somebody like Bail Bonds Doctor. They are a very professional and trustworthy company to deal with. You hear a lot of bad stories about bail bonds companies, but these people are legit. They do a very, very good service that unfortunately has to be done sometimes. So I want you to get to know them. Go to bailbondsdoctor.com, check out their website, learn how their business works, and also keep their number handy, 612-332-3030. That's Bail Bonds Doctor at 612-332-3030. Yeah. Tony, before we go, we got a caller on. Is that Brad? Brad, just hold on to Brad for a second. I want to talk more, Tony. What were you talking about before the show? You had some questions about the Sandra Bland thing.
Yeah, just as like an outsider, not like you're an insider and you were in the cell. But
I've been inside some cells. I've been an insider.
And I want to hear all about that. But I saw some stuff online. I've been seeing more like memes on social media, not comedic memes, but stuff like, there's a bag in the garbage they found in the photo of it, and just a couple questionable things like that. I mean, I'm not a detective, but I don't have a lot of info. No one's got a lot of info about what went on in that cell.
And that in what you just mentioned is one of those very suspicious things to me as a person who has been arrested and who has been to jail a few times. It's very rare that one person in a single cell is going to have access to something like a garbage bag. Maybe their jail was different. Any jail that I had ever been in, if you're in a cell by yourself or just one or two people, they limit the amount of what they consider contraband or whatever to get in there for that specific reason, right? And if you compound that, if you want to believe what it says in her booking information, where that she mentioned that she was suicidal or had been suicidal, right there is another problem for me, because if that's the case, then why weren't the police like, okay, we've got a person who's potentially suicidal. We need to treat her with a different type of method. We need to make sure that she cannot hurt herself if she's thought about doing that in the past or whatever.
Right.
All right. It's different. Like you're in a large cell, like a dormitory type thing with multiple people there. There might be a trash can or something like that, but I've never seen that. And I've been, like I said, more than one jail. That you be in a cell by yourself where something like that could happen, especially after mentioning being suicidal. Was that your question?
Yeah, I mean, I were there some photos leaked where there was in the background there was a garbage can that had a bag in it at the time.
Right.
That wasn't the bag that she used to kill herself with, supposedly.
There, a bunch of sketchy things. Like I said, I'm as conspiratorial as they come. So it's really hard for me not to speculate a little bit here, but
it feels pretty cavalier even for the cops these days.
Is it? I don't know. When you have a culture like that, and obviously, and we talked about it you weren't there for the podcast recording, but we talked about it. The sheriff has been fired from another position for being a racist, right? It's not like it's something that's foreign to him. The prosecutor who was involved in kind of the finger quotes in the investigation, which was half-assed to say the least, also has incidents of racism that are on record. So once that culture is ingrained and they start hiring fellow racist cops and they build this protective layer of racism within their department, it's not that surprising to me that they get comfortable to the point, well, hey, we'll just kill another black person.
Not a good time to kill black people.
It's never a good time to kill black people.
The 80s were different.
Never was. Let's go ahead and take Brad's call. Brad, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you doing, guys?
I'm doing well.
Well, I got to tell you that I do find it extremely odd. I didn't know the circumstances of how she committed suicide, let's say. Yeah, you don't normally go into a jail and have a garbage bag available to you. I think this stuff happens all the time, and, you know, if you look at the incredible power that the police have been given these days with the civil asset forfeiture laws,
yep,
the false statement clause, have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
And the ability to just lock you up for no reason, and then there's no police that go to jail for violating your rights until those cops start getting prosecuted and going to jail. this is never going to change because it's just like the guy who beats up on the renter or something. Unless they got a big brother that weighs about 400 pounds and goes over and has a little chat with them, will abuse people as long as they can, and they'll do whatever they want.
And have done for hundreds of years. I mean, it's it's not
I think it's
nothing new.
I think it's much worse today because of the reporting.
Much more obvious, you mean?
Well, no, absolutely not. I think it's the other way around. You have never heard. I had a friend of mine I just heard about. I haven't talked to him for several years, but he got pinched with some meth, and the cops said, "Oh, well, you have intent to distribute." They took his pension, they took his house, they took his cars, they took everything this guy had. Now they did get a conviction, but the bottom line was, I could not believe that they would do. They had the powers to put this guy in the poor farm forever, and it's never reported in the news or so-called news. I don't bother with the corporate junk. It's a waste of time.
Right. Well, they don't want people asking too many questions. They don't want that to get out there. That is a point of profit for them, right? And that's we get into the bigger story about the war on drugs. It's a profit industry.
My deal is, I used to work for the Minneapolis police as a computer guy.
Okay.
The bottom line is the media could report this stuff. We don't have journalism anymore. They tell you about a fire somewhere or something, but they don't tell you about the guy who's been beaten down by the system, had everything in his life taken away. You have to go out to projectcensored.org or Democracy Now! Or something like that to find any of this stuff. And that's the hard part for me is when I was a kid, we actually had true reporting, or a lot better than we have today. And a sense of fairness. Today, there is no sense of fairness. They could care less.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
All right, Brad. Thanks for calling in, man. Have a good night.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Brad's absolutely right. And this is something I talked about. I called into Ian's show, the Daily Report today, doing a little promo for this show tonight. And that was one of the things that I had brought up when we were talking about this very subject, is that he asked me if I felt there was a change as far as a societal change about dealing with this or accepting the issue of police violence, recognizing it, acknowledging it, that kind of question. And I felt that, and I told him, yes, it is, because I had been talking about this from way back when I was doing the Filter Free America podcast, when it wasn't a lot of stories out there right now. And I told him today, it's very sad to me because, I run the the Pardon the Dissent Facebook page. And now I'm kind of at this point where, there's so many of these negative cop stories out there right now, legitimate, verified stories of criminal police behavior, that now I have to kind of balance, how many of these stories am I going to post today? Within a day. It's I have to do some political stuff. I have to do some environmental stuff. But I could post criminal cop stories all day long.
You could start a second radio show.
Yeah, it could be just that. Just criminal cop behavior. And now, because we're at that level and we have that much information coming in, we have this much video evidence, we have this much testimony, we have all this stuff now. Now people are starting to get it. People are starting to accept it. They're starting to realize it, right? But think about this. How many bodies had to pile up to get to where we're at right now today, right? Which is just accepting the idea of it, right? This isn't the point of solution. This isn't the point of fixing. We aren't implementing things. We've got all these great ideas of things that we can do. We need more body cameras. We need more community policing, right? We need malpractice insurance for police, right? We've got all these ideas coming up. Nothing's going in. Nothing's working. Nothing's started. No one has came down from whatever government building and said, you know what, it's time to make a change. We're going to do this. We're going to implement it now. We're not, right? We've got all these piles of bodies, lots of black bodies, bodies of all race, piled up dead, children dead, killed playing in a park, right? But no solutions are happening right now. They're not happening right now. So how many more bodies are we going to have to get to, right? Do we have to double the number of dead bodies? Is that when we're going to start doing this? I'm talking to you. If you can hear me, I'm talking to you. This is where are we going to start the change, right? When are we all going to demand this change together in a unified collective voice that says, no, this stops today. This stops today. Change happens today. These bodies stop falling today. These criminal cops, we don't accept it anymore. We need to change this now. You need to start asking yourself that, right? What are you going to do? Either do something now or wait until it's your family member. Or you. Pardon the dissent. We'll be back.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox and
Are you a musician or songwriter looking for quality production and recording? Minnehaha Recording Company can help. With over 10 years of experience in recording and production, Minnehaha Recording Company offers recording, mixing, and mastering on any type of project, including full bands, hip-hop artists, and podcast production. For more info, visit minnehaharecording.com or call 612-564-8088.
Pardon the dissent. It's all about raising a little hell. That's what we're doing. Oh, okay. Teared up a little bit on that last one. These are an emotional topic for me, man. I don't know. You know, the police stuff hits me a lot harder. I don't know if it's because like I said, I spent my early years being a little on the criminal side of things, and I've seen a lot of stuff, guys.
I admire your honesty.
Thank you. I've been in the thick of it. I've seen some pretty heinous behavior from police. Man, I wanted to go to a different store. No, here I am. Wanted to talk about it again. Tony, you asked me about solutions. I don't see, as it is right now, I don't see any real change coming because of what we were talking about before, the financial aspect to law enforcement and the prison industry. Why would they stop this, where they need this money coming in? Why would they stop these police finding little stupid charges like signals, things to pull people over for? Why would they stop that money coming in? They won't ever do that, right? They need that money coming in.
So what would it take? The deprivatization of prisons?
I don't know.
Is that a start?
I don't know. To me, it all starts with the populace. The government is always going to do that. That's a rule of thumb. Government's going to do what the population allows them to do.
Right.
And if you keep turning your head and keep looking the other way and keep saying, well, it's not me, it's on my family, it's going to keep happening. It's just going to keep on happening.
I feel like there's been a huge groundswell in the last year, even.
Yeah, but
I mean, Black Lives Matter wasn't a thing.
That's true.
2 years ago.
Maybe it is. I'm skeptical. All right. And here's the thing. And I'll move. I promise I'll move on to something else. If the people who are tasked with enforcing the law in a nation that is built on the rule of law, if they are criminals, the whole system is a fraud, right? Even if you want to pretend that it's some small, minute amount, but say 10%, which trust me, I know it's more than 10% criminal behavior within law enforcement, okay? But to say if it's even that, it ruins everything, okay? Because there's no trust within that system.
No integrity.
Anymore. No integrity, thank you. It's done. Right? You can't expect the population to respect the rule of law when the enforcers of the rule of law don't respect the laws that they're enforcing. It's done. It's broken, right? I don't know. Here's another thing that's happening. Changing subjects, guys. There's since the shooting of the soldiers, I guess that was a week or 2 weeks ago now. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date here in front of me. There's been a rash of what I'm going to call the militia types, and I don't want to say that in a disparaging way. This is one of the things where my politics differ from a lot of maybe the listeners here, is I don't really have as long as you're not a hateful, racist militia guy, I don't have a problem with you, right? as long as you're equal to everybody, I don't have a problem with you. I'm very pro-gun myself, responsible pro-gun owner myself. Don't have a problem with it. But what I'm talking about is what's going on right now, where these militia types are going to the recruiting centers across the country and standing guard, right? Standing guard, armed, some of them to the teeth, multiple firearms, under the intent that they are defending the unarmed military personnel who are operating these recruiting stations. And while I get that, and I respect your thought process and your intention there, I got something for you. Why are you guarding the recruiters? You know what I mean by that? Why are you guarding recruiters? If you know anything about recruitment, how the recruitment process works, and what happens when a young, naive child, 18 years old, who has no wherewithal, naive to the world, when he ends up talking to a recruiter, he gets convinced that he needs to join this branch, and you're going to see the world, and you're going to have sex with beautiful women all over the world, and it's going to be great for you. You're going to get money for education. You're going to get all these benefits.
Good morning, little schoolgirl.
Right. You're going to get that treatment. And then you sign your name on a piece of paper and you sign your life away. And then you go serve and you go fight in a war that, at least within my lifetime, was created over BS reasons. And then if you happen to make it back and you're injured, or you have to have some kind of medical treatment, then you play a lottery of such, hoping that the U.S. government will honor their commitment to you and give you the medical treatment that you need. And hopefully you won't be one of the 20-plus people, 20-plus military veterans that kill themselves every day. Right? I know this is a grim thing. Why aren't you guarding the kids? Right? This is my point to this ramble thing that I'm going on here. I get it. You want to defend the military guys. That's fine. Okay. I'm pretty sure they can handle themselves in most situations. And if the government wants to arm them and have them armed at the recruiting stations, fine by me. As long as they've been trained to handle the weapons that they're given them, that's fine by me. But if you really want to defend something, if you want to protect something, protect the youth who are being tricked, manipulated. We have all heard the stories. We've read the stories. I know people personally who have been recruited with these type of tactics, and looking back, they're like, yeah, these guys really kind of screwed me. Protect the youth. Why don't you do that, okay? Why don't, instead of worrying about these recruiters who are trained soldiers, why don't you instead find ways to protect these kids who are being sent off to die at the hands, they'd say it, of some of these recruiters, okay? Think about that for a second. They're the innocent lives right there. I'm not saying I want to see recruiters get killed. I'm not saying that I think the recruiters, like the military personnel that got caught, deserved it or anything like that. But I don't know. You get what I'm saying, Tony, on this?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't think
I'm probably not making it as clear as I
the
probably
militia
should.
Members don't necessarily have the same agenda as you do, though, or the same thoughts about the whole situation.
Yeah,
they're making a point. They really think someone's going to come armed. I think they're making a point that, hey, these guys should be allowed to be armed at the recruitment centers, and this thing just happened. We're kind of doing our duty. We're helping out because the government's not letting them be armed.
Right.
But your point well taken. And an interesting point and an interesting action that would be.
Right. I just, because this happens, like, we've done stories on this about, literally thousands of injured veterans have died before receiving treatment. Thousands. And while it's horrible, it's horrific that these people that got shot by the shooter, compare the numbers, right? Where are you going to do the most good? Defending a recruiting station? Or instead, talking to the youth, explaining to them, because a lot of these militia people are former military, right? And they know, they have a working knowledge of what happens and what goes, right? Well, instead of toting a gun and hanging out in front of a recruiting station, why don't you, bring some stories? Or better yet, why don't you, take some kids to a VA hospital? Show them around a little bit. Have them talk to some soldiers, right? Why don't you protect that life there? I don't know. That's a hard subject to talk about. I know some people are like, I don't know about this one. I'm going to stay away from this one. Go by the numbers, man. How many people? 20 plus a day. Death by suicide. 40% of America's homeless. Former veterans, right? If you want to protect a life, man, protect them when they're kids, man. I don't know. Pardon the dissent. Come back to something else.
You support local businesses, so it's time you get to know the locally owned natural pure drinking water. They're a family business that's been providing water for the Twin Cities since 1986. Their water is purified using reverse osmosis, effectively removing chemicals such as salt, magnesium, iron, fluoride, lead, and calcium, as well as bacteria. Their water is also treated with ultraviolet light to protect against all airborne bacteria. Natural pure drinking water carries a variety of BPA-free bottles. Their bottles include 5 gallons, 3 gallons, 2 gallons, and 1 gallon. Servicing their machines every 30 days. This means you have plenty of options when you're providing water for your home or office. Using natural, pure drinking water makes excellent coffee, tea, and ice cubes, and you can find their water at many local retailers. They're online at naturalpuredrinkingwater.com, and be sure to check out their Facebook page. Ask for natural, pure drinking water at your local grocery store and select co-ops.
If you want to listen to Pardon the Dissent, but don't always have time to catch us live, each show is available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can also live stream Pardon the Dissent and listen to us no matter where you're at. Just go to pardonthedissent.com and follow the live streaming instructions.
Pardon the dissent. Joey Vincent here. All right, we got to turn this ship around. I didn't feel like I ended that segment too good there. I hope everybody got where I was coming from on that. It's just something I've been thinking about, and just sometimes I just have to vomit some thoughts at you guys and see how they go over. We'll see. Another live read here of one of our wonderful sponsors at the Pardon the Dissent show, Minnehaha Recording Company. If you haven't found out yet, that is the recording company that is owned by Tony Williamette. It's right here in the Twin Cities in South Minneapolis, and if you're interested in doing some recording, be it live music, podcasts, or whatever you want to record, I want you to try Minnehaha Recording Company. I want you to go to Tony's website. It's minnehaharecording.com. Check out some samples of some past projects that he's done. See some pictures of the studio. And after you check that out and you're ready to start recording, give him a call, 612-564-8088. Again, that's Minnehaha Recording Company, 612-564-8088. And again, that website, minnehaharecording.com. All right, let's jump in a story here. Try to swing it around a little bit. This is from commondreams.org. Headline, guess who else is fundraising for Clinton? Private prison lobbyists. All right. In addition to Wall Street and the fossil fuel industry, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is turning to lobbyists from the two biggest private prison companies in the country, Corrections Corporations of America, and the GEO Group to raise money for her 2016 presidential candidacy. All right. Yay, Hillary. All right. Lee Fang of The Intercept made the discovery after examining Clinton's list of lobbyists who are bundlers for her presidential bid were released last week. Bundlers are people who raise money for campaigns by organizing and collecting contributions from other donors. Among those funneling money into Clinton's campaign, they are Richard Sullivan of the firm Capital Counsel, documented lobbyist for the GEO Group, and 5 employees of the lobbying and law firm Akin, Gump, Strauss, Hauer, and Feld. That kind of sounds like members of a 1% boy band. They'd received $240,000 from CCA last year. And also the Akin Gump lobbyist and Clinton bundler Brian Popper disclosed that he previously helped CCA defend efforts to compel private prisons to respond to Freedom of Information Act requests. All right. Whew. Fang's reporting comes on the heels of revelations that the Clintons' campaign also benefited from the fossil fuel industry in Wall Street. Bernie lovers, this is who you're going to turn to. Bernie Sanders lovers, this is who you're going to turn to. If he doesn't become the Democratic nominee, this Clinton lady, this is who you're going to give your vote to.
I'll be the devil's advocate. Who else?
Who else?
For them.
I don't know. Jill Stein. I don't know. Somebody who's not a Democratic version of a Bush. Right? This is gross. I'm going to jump a little ahead. CCA and GEO have spent millions of dollars to press the U.S. government to impose harsher immigration laws that, in turn, spike corporate profits by driving up incarceration levels at their detention centers. Both companies stand accused of egregious human rights abuses at their facilities, from denial of mental and physical health care to inadequate nutrition. These are the people who are funding the Clinton campaign. Vote for that if you want to. It's gross. Here's another story I promised I wanted to get to tonight. Where did this come from? This is alternate.org. Alternate.org. Family that made a fortune off national OxyContin epidemic has just landed on the Forbes richest list. Well, awesome. It's good to hear. Say hello to the Sacklers. The newest members of Forbes 2015 can't read tonight, list of the richest U.S. families who collected a fortune from a national opioid addiction epidemic. That's hard to read. Worth $14 billion. They're the 16th richest family in the country. Although they are richer than the Mellons and the Bushes and the Rockefellers, you've probably never heard of them. But you're almost certainly heard about the product that put them into the 1% of the 1%. The Sackers own 100% of Purdue Pharma, the Sanford, Connecticut-based company that makes OxyContin, the opiate that helps spark a new generation of pain pill and heroin addicts. Yeah. I had pulled up a graph about this when talking about this, and it shows the growth of the heroin epidemic in this country from 71 to 2007. This is not part of this story specifically, just something I wanted to tie in. If you want to look that up and pull that up, the growth rate of heroin epidemic in this country, you'll see a gradual incline happen. In this specific graph, it's 71 to strangely 2001, and after 2001, there's a sharp spike upward. You want to guess why that is, Tony? You know what that is? What happened in 2001 to make heroin go crazy?
Became readily available over the counter.
That, and also we invaded the country that is responsible for 90% of the world's heroin, Afghanistan. Isn't that convenient? Yes. Like we're in there with our military. fighting terrorism and all that. And for some reason, they're still able to produce 90% of the world's heroin. Anyway, sorry, just a tie-in story there. Oxycontin has been the most popular and controversial opioid of the century. The time-release pain reliever, originally billed as addiction-proof, has generated the vast majority of Purdue Pharma's $35 billion in sales since it was first introduced in 1995. You lost my clock there, Tony. Purdue is currently generating about $3 billion a year in revenues. Again, most of it from Oxycontin. Dealers of death, right? But I can't go selling the weed on the corner. At least not in this state, I can't. This is a long story, but I want to read more because there's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'll try to read like I'm halfway literate. Sales of Oxycodone jumped from fewer than 10 million prescriptions a year in 91 to more than 53 million prescriptions in 2012. Largely impelled by the introduction of Oxycontin and Purdue Pharma's aggressive marketing campaign for the drug. And while it's difficult to isolate Oxycontin from other opiate, it has been a big driver in the fourfold increase in prescription opiate sales between 1999 and 2010. Here's a fun number for you. According to the Centers for Disease Control, of the nearly 44,000 drug overdose deaths in the U.S. in 2013, more than half of them were from prescribed pills or prescribed drugs. And of those deaths, 72% were from opiate overdoses. That's roughly 32,000, 72% of the 44,000. Yeah, about that, 30-something percent, or 30,000 something. The opiate overdose death rate has increased more than threefold in the same period that the CDC reported. Gotta get these words right. These people are rich. These people are billionaires. You want to talk about, again, I'm pro-gun. That's something I meant. And I know there's discussion back and forth how we have to get more gun control. We need more gun control to stop this needless death, right? Right? 2012, 8,885 gun homicides. Of course, there was a lot more suicides because 61% of all deaths involving guns are suicide. But speaking just about the homicides, 8,885, okay? Now compare that to the 44,000 deaths related to opiates in 2013. I think we need some drug control. I think we need some pharmacy. I think we need some legal drug control. That's what I think. 44,000.
It's sad.
It's sad. It's disgusting. People are. If any other industry, like if you sold a food product in the grocery store and it killed 44,000 people, probably wouldn't be on the shelves very long, right?
Unless it made a ton of money.
Unless it made a ton of money and they paid people off. The move, where was this thing I was going to read right here? Oh, yeah. The move enabled Purdue to market Oxycontin beyond cancer patients who were the traditional market for powerful painkillers. And it did so with gusto, thanks to Purdue's aggressive marketing campaign, especially the claim that Oxycontin was not addictive. Primary care physicians soon began subscribing it for a wide array of painful symptoms. By 2002, Oxycontin was bringing in $1.5 billion a year. Of course, they have been fined. They have been forced to pay, since then, $635 million in fines and a possible $1 billion payout in the false marketing suit brought by the state of Kentucky. But that really doesn't mean a lot when they've got $14 billion in sales. It's a drop in the bucket. But don't sell weed, guys. Don't do it. You might make somebody happy.
into that ditch, you're out of luck. You're out of luck.
Pardon the Dissent. We're back. Thank you to our sponsors here at Pardon the Dissent. Couldn't do the show without you guys. Bell Bonds Doctor, Natural Pure Drinking Water, Minnehaha Recording Company, Stupid Simple Branding, and Scotty and the Don. Thank you guys for putting the show, helping me put the show together. I didn't get to all the stories that I wanted to today. I sent out a Facebook thing and it's some tweet things about some other stories that I wanted to cover. I didn't get to because we spent a lot of time up front on Sandra Bland stuff. But that's good. It deserves that time. But that's good. That's why we have the podcast now, right? So Thursday I'm going to be recording another direct-to-podcast episode of Pardon the Dissent. We'll post it either late Thursday or early Friday, and I'll cover some of these other stories. I got a story about Trump I want to talk about. I got a story about Bernie Sanders I want to talk about and a few other things. So we'll cover all that then. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the show. Really, really appreciate it. Check out the podcast on, we'll say Friday, and make sure you're back here for the live show again next Monday at 11 p.m. Pardon the Dissent. Keep seeking the truth.